Unmute yourself, Pastor. You muted, Pastor. You muted.
There we go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Cross and Culture. So glad that you're here with us on tonight. Do us a big favor and share this live. Amen. There's some amazing topics on tonight. And before we get into it, I'm going to let everyone introduce themselves, and then we'll get right into it. Let's start with Deacon Jess.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Deacon Jesse Murphy. Down-to-earth guy, 37 years old, financial manager for the Department of Veteran Affairs. I love to serve God. That's it for me.
All right.
Hey, everyone. I'm Harold Whaley, Deacon Harold Whaley. Really, Deacon, I'm getting used to saying that. I love the Lord, love this group. I'm a father of two. I work in Baltimore City Public School Systems, and I'm happy to be here, as always.
Amen.
Good evening. I am Christine McDonald. Much like I said last week, I am a mom, a social worker, and all things great.
And I'm Pastor Clay. Thanks for logging on. All right, so let's get right into it. So my friend, I am a huge Kanye West friend. I'm a supporter, fan. I love his music. I love his creativity. I love his sneakers. I love all things Kanye. I even bought some of his cologne. So recently, Kanye West is being sued by the Sunday service that he started. A bunch of singers and musicians who have come together and they've sung globally. As well as locally. So they're suing him because, California is a big entertainment city. So the rules in California and Los Angeles are a little different than anywhere else as it relates to the standards by which artists are treated. So I know a member of our church, Sister Brittany, she's an actress and she's traveled literally all over the world performing. And because she was a part of the Actors Union, she couldn't even participate in our little church play, because there are certain rules that have to be followed. She needs her own dressing room and a bed and all kinds of stuff. Amen. And if they found out and if she wasn't accommodated, they would have, put her out of the Actors Union. So, hey, Mo. So with that being said, Kanye is being sued for $30 million because of malpractice. So what are your thoughts on that first before we get into it? What are your thoughts on the artist, suing Kanye West because some of the issues that they had were that he didn't provide chairs. A part of the union contract is you have to have chairs available. And in some situations, there weren't enough chairs for people to sit down on, and they were upset about that. He didn't provide lunch some days. A part of the Actors Union or Performers Union, you have to have lunch available. What else did I read? Oh, yeah. Also, he didn't provide transportation. So people said we didn't have chairs all day. He didn't feed us, and we have to, he didn't provide a shuttle for us back and forth between rehearsals and whatever. So what do you guys think?
I think it's business. And actually, now that we're talking about it, I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, that's business. It's just good business, man. And even if we're doing putting a Christian part on it, you just got part to it. That'd be a good steward of what you do. Also, he was already in something 3 months ago, so I guess it's just still part of it. He was just being sued by some workers from them. Say they weren't even paid, so they do it to him over that too. So I don't know. I to the little to our focus video, and I agree with the guy. While Kanye may not be directly responsible, because he probably wasn't. No, he's an artist. He probably wasn't in the, hey, y'all got to get these cheers for these guys. We got to get for them. He's not that part. But bringing that to fruition, bringing that choir to fruition and all that, he should have been more cognizant of what was going on, because this was something that he started. This wasn't like he had a wasn't like he had people backing him. It wasn't like he had his manager backing. It wasn't like he had a record label backing. He was the backing. If the record label messed up with him, Kanye has no problem voicing his opinion on what the record label should have did right for him.
Right.
I think that if he want people to take care of artists, he should take care of artists.
I'm gonna preface this.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Monique.
Pastor, my question is, does this include band members? Does this include piano?
Yeah. So it was a full production. He had a huge choir, musicians. He had road crew. Just the whole gambit. He had it all.
Everybody was complaining. Okay, well then, yeah, I think it's definitely. You have to respect your artists. You have to respect them just as much as you have complained publicly to everyone about what's wrong with the music business. So you should have definitely been dotting your I's and your T's, or making sure whoever is in control of that part should have been making sure that your wonderful singers are safe and are comfortable, or whatever. The simple things, a chair, a water, whatever they need. I don't understand that.
especially since I've read somebody, he really required them to be like, quote unquote, the model Christians. Like he was going through a lot. Like they could be having premarital sex and all this. You going through all that.
Cursed on in rehearsal or cursed in the studio. Right. Something like that.
And you so into all of that, and I guess he must have thought like these guys. I don't know. I don't know his mind, but I guess a lot of church people, we get, especially church artists and people who work in the church and all that. You get this thing where you're a church person, so God gonna pay you.
But if this is my job,
you're blessed and highly favored and all that. I don't got no money right now. God gonna bless you. A lot of us we fall underneath of that, and it's not right. People take advantage of you because you love God.
Well, I mean, I tend to think that I feel two ways about it, because I feel that most of those that inserted themselves in that environment saw it as an opportunity or a huge platform. So they didn't necessarily really give too much thought to all of the logistics or lack thereof. And then on the other side of it, from a business perspective, yes, I do agree. While he might not have been remotely engaged in all of the intricate details of planning to ensure that there was enough seating to accommodate everyone that was there, as a leader, it's your responsibility to make sure that you have leaders in place to make sure that you look good. Because at the end of the day, they're not looking at his team. They're looking at him because his name is behind everything behind it. And unfortunately, to Harold's earlier point, when it comes to things of ministry, most people tend to forget the business side of ministry. So I tend to think that that's partially what will make him probably lose this one.
So I'll preface it by saying I'm not a Kanye fan. I don't this new Kanye, but yeah. So I'm a little biased and
heavy on the new Kanye, right?
Heavy, not a fan. But to Jesse's point, you should be having. Granted, I understand he probably wasn't involved in the day-to-day, but at some point, as the leader, like you're the name and the face of this entity, you should be sitting down with all of those who are in charge of those different, those different parts. Hey, let's make sure we followed all the guidelines here. Did we meet the guidelines here? Because when it goes bad, they not going to say Sarah, who was in charge of HR on the Kanye tour, they say Kanye.
Right.
So, yeah.
You know what is going to make me upset about this?
What?
all the people that's gonna be talking. See, I told y'all, them church people, they can't never get it right. All that, you know, that all that little bad talk. They're gonna group this into that. See, they're gonna put this with all that other, all of that. That's why I'm the church now talk, you know.
Yeah, I dig it.
And nothing to do with, like Jesse said, like a lot of them probably saw it as a platform and just forgot that, hey, man, they could have
Yeah.
be doing something. I'm reading that it's over 500 people.
Yeah.
They say at given times, all they were paid was $500 for whatever they did. It was.
But then my question would be: so they continue to tour under these conditions? They continue to tour from city to city.
That was my next thing.
So could the conditions have been that bad?
Right.
But I think that people toured from city to city because it was a church thing. I don't think that that's why people did it. I think they did because it was
Kanye West.
I'm gonna be seen. It's a platform, and that I agree, Harold, with the notion that people are gonna tie this into church people. I'm always gonna be, because anytime someone says to me, "Have you heard?" They say, "Have you heard Kanye's album? You know, the new one." I don't even hear a lot of people say the gospel album. They just say heard Kanye's new album. So I just think it was a platform for people. I don't think it's.
I agree.
I think.
I'm sorry, Mama.
No, you're fine. I think that as performers, they should have been respected no matter what. And I think that because, I don't know, I don't want to say I think that because, but maybe it could be a possibility because of it being church, that there was this lackadaisy attitude towards it, because I don't think we heard any complaints when Beyonce did her entire situation. She had a lot of people involved, a lot of the same different things, auditions and all these different things. And she paid those people well. And so I don't understand why, you know, this couldn't be the same when he obviously has the money. Yes.
Well, I mean, I think partially the issue is because he didn't take into consideration the legal ramifications that tie directly to the union. So it goes back to that business side of the process. Most people that are leading, they're leading out of their vision. They're leading out of their desire to be upfront or to promote their personal interests. And in this case, he didn't take into consideration the bylaws of the union. He didn't take into consideration what's required in any particular state. And that's going, in my opinion, it's probably going to be what will substantiate any of the allegations or charges because of the legal obligation that tied to what he did.
Do y'all really think that after all the touring that Kanye has done, that he sort of just dropped the ball on this one tour? I mean, the man's been touring, you know, forever, every album for the last decade or so. And you guys believe that he really just dropped the ball on this particular concert or this tour? He dropped the ball totally.
Well, yeah, this one's a little different. It's not the same as his normal tours.
And I don't know if it's that dropped the ball. I don't know Kanye personally, but Kanye does not, this new Kanye does not seem like the type of person that you can tell him what to do. Or if you tell him what to do, he has his own thought, you know, he has his own thought and his own vision around it. And so maybe somebody did say to him, you have to do this, 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 and this. But if it didn't, it seems like to me, and I'm just speaking as an assumption, doesn't seem like if it doesn't fit into the vision, then it's kind of ignored. So I feel like that's what makes this a little different than his other tours, because I feel like his state of mind was a little different from this time to the other tours. But I don't know Kanye personally.
But I also think that his vision was just a little different. So when you consider in comparison his standard or traditional tours, they're based on his music. This was more of a biblical, quote unquote, or religious tour. You know, in a time where we're in an economy where it was a ton going on, you know, so in my opinion, he saw that as an opportunity to kind of reach the masses, you know, so his intentions may just have been just a little different. So he may not have been considerate or as business minded as he would normally have been as it relates to the store. So would I say that he dropped the ball? Probably not. He probably just didn't really give it as much thought.
Yeah. See,
Who is
I don't
less
think he does all that. You know, I think he focuses on the
Music.
music and the creative portions, and he has road managers and like I don't think Kanye's sitting down writing checks on tour.
I
I think he's creating concepts and ideas, and he pays road managers, stage managers to take care of all the technical stuff. I don't think Kanye's booking hotel rooms. I don't think Kanye, you know, he's not like counting chairs. I don't think he has people in place for that. And so I don't really like, in my opinion, I think it's more so like this young lady with the Gorilla Glue thing, where she wants to sue Gorilla Glue, you know, and yeah, you know, to me, I'm like, you know, I understand that, but like, you know, I just, I don't know.
I don't understand that.
Yeah. You made a decision. I mean, it's common knowledge that it's not a hair product.
Right.
And she's not 12 years old.
Yeah,
So.
right.
You know what, too? I think the roles are.
But like, you know, it's not a hair product, and so to sue, you know, yeah. So I'm just very. I believe that Kanye did not know. I believe that Kanye was focused on the artistic part of the tour. I don't think now should he be held responsible. That's more of the question. Should Kanye be held responsible, even though we know that he wasn't counting chairs, he wasn't ordering sandwiches for people. He said, "I want to put a tour together." He got probably his same tour team. I'm sure Beyonce has her tour team. When she's going on tour, she called the same people that she know, can get can get the job done. The same lighting people, the same, tour manager, the same. It says, I want to go on tour next year, make it happen. And so I don't know if Kanye should be held accountable for. I don't know. What do y'all think?
I mean, it comes with the territory. When you're the visionary, mm-hmm. that's a mantle and responsibility that you own as the leader or the head of any organization. For instance, you're the pastor of the church. So if something was to happen to the church, they're not coming after.
Don't be suing me.
But they come. I mean, they come after the leader. So granted, yes, I do agree that he was not involved in any of the intricate details of planning, but because it has such high visibility in media right now, they're not coming after his planning team.
Yep.
They're coming after the name of the tour
and the money
and the money.
And like you say, he's like I think he's thinking from an artist's point of view. He wasn't thinking from the business part of it. Like you said, I just want to tour. I want it to be pretty. That's usually what he usually says and does, because the record company will take care of all the other intricacies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want the whistles and all that. But now he don't got that back in him. He is the back. He is
right.
And like I say, that's where it falls at.
Right.
And really, you can't do that. Like, you have to think of all of the people that you have involved in this. You have to organize in that way with this new project, no matter what, because you have so many humans involved. These are people. You don't have robots up there singing for you. You have human beings up there. And I think he really just should have thought a little better. He just should have thought about them. And maybe, like y'all said earlier, somebody probably said something to him, because it's a lot of people singing. It was a lot of Black people singing. I'm pretty sure one of them Black people was like, excuse me, Kanye, excuse me, there's some chairs, excuse me. Something happened. Some way he was informed in some way. And I think he really could have just move differently once you saw those mistakes, because this is new for you. You have never had this many people involved. Because again, and I don't mean to use Beyonce, but that's the only person I can really think of that used a lot of people, and we didn't hear an uproar of how she treated them with the conditions. And it was a lot of rehearsals for that Coachella situation. It's very similar, not completely, because touring is different places, but still, I just think that he should have thought about that, and or somebody definitely said something to him and he didn't take it to heart. And he should have. No matter how creative you want to be, think about your people. Come on. These people are singing for you.
Yeah.
So y'all think that treat like a business?
Say that again.
So y'all believe that ministry should be run like a business? You believe that?
I mean, I do believe that there's a business side of ministry.
I think that far too often it has been separated, and much like Harold was saying, it's like, oh, God will bless you, but then there's that other piece where you want the best, best, but you understand that with the best comes
a cost,
contracts and costs and that kind of thing,
expectations, standards.
Here's the thing: if there didn't need to be a business side of ministry, take all of your ministry, your singing, your organ, your preaching, take all of that and see how it works with BGE and Baltimore City Water.
Right.
Tell them you blessed.
Yeah, tell you people are being like,
right.
You know what? This has been the conflict for a long time. Artists and business. That's been the conflict for a long time. That's why you got the word starving artist, because an artist will get there and he or she'll be so into what they're doing, and they know the vision. This is going to be beautiful, and I want this, and I want this, and I want that, and this is going to be, and I need y'all to see this. And they forget, for us to really see that, you got to put some money somewhere. You know what I mean?
So say it again. You got to do what?
You got to put some money somewhere.
Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah.
They forget to really get your point across. You have to spend money. Everybody not gonna feel you just because you got good words and good voice.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, see, I believe the exact opposite. I think that once you interject finances, then I believe it takes the purity away from it. Like scriptures are very clear. Like I believe that volunteerism is God's way. Because when you're doing it for God, there is no other, there's no ulterior motive. I believe it remains pure. It's about the sacrifice and not the paycheck. I believe that the church took a bad step when we began to teach that church is a business. So I believe that ideology is a heavy underpinning as it relates to why the or the current state of the church. I believe that volunteering, serving God, I believe that once people start saying, pay me, it's not a service anymore. At that point, it's your job. And I don't think that is for me, it takes away the purity of the service. I believe that.
But I think in matters of, we're not saying business in the sense of the only church's goal is to make money.
Yeah.
But we do, I'm saying in matters of, so if you are paying people, because let's be real, there are some people in the church that are never going to volunteer. I don't think that, because here's the thing, when we talk about volunteering, should pastors volunteer and not be compensated?
Well,
because
majority of them.
Because here's the thing, I don't think pastors get into it for the money. I don't think that at all. But I do believe that pastors should be compensated, because it's a big job. However, the word is very clear that he doesn't want us to live in lack. So doesn't mean because you're a pastor or you are doing something for the church that you should be a pauper. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
And even with your volunteers, there has to be a standard with your volunteers, because if we're just people volunteer wherever they want, however they want, do whatever you want, and there's no standard or any expectations such as those that you set in a business, then it just gets messy.
Yeah.
It's really messy.
Yeah, and I tend to think that and I don't want to necessarily use the word business, but I'll use order or administration or operational guidance, because those things help to flow the ministry, because otherwise, to Christine's point, things would be kind of all over the place if you just consider everyone just kind of doing or volunteering. So administration works to make sure that everything that's planned for the church flows properly. Finance team works to ensure that the finances of the church, they're flowing properly, that the bills and things are being paid. So to that sense, there is a need to have that business aspect in the church. And unfortunately, we're far beyond the phase where we have volunteer musicians. Everyone wants $600 a week. But they want to give, for all intents and purposes, minimum service. So there has to be some type of business processes in place to ensure that the expectation and the needs of the church are being met. So to that sense, there needs to or should be some type of business practices as a part of ministry to ensure that things are flowing properly. That's just my thought.
Yeah. So I think the challenge may be, that blurred line of order or organization, administration, and having a business model in your ministry. So I think that component is where that line becomes very blurred. I believe that volunteerism is the way that God wants it to be, because it's your reasonable service.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that God does all these amazing things for us.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, I have an issue with pastors who have honorariums. It's just, to me, it's just insane for a pastor to say, I'm not going to preach at
until you give me $3,500.
Give me $3,500 or $3,500. Like, that's just crazy to me. You know what I mean? Like, and I understand, because their argument is, it's a business, and this is how I feed my family. I get it, but I don't think the monetary component should ever hinder or stop someone. So if a pastor gets paid, great, but he should not, or shouldn't stop preaching because he's not getting paid.
Right.
I agree with that.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so I don't think the musician should only play if he's getting paid.
Right. And so in that sense, I agree 100% with what you're saying. But and so just kind of similar to what Jesse was saying, I think it should be, we run it as a business in matters of order, so that our finances are in order. If your church is receiving donations, your 501c3 is in order, and things of that nature. However, I think that people shouldn't serve if they're not being paid. But now I think that also depends on the person, because of us who by nature are servants. I don't come for money.
Right.
That's not why I'm here. I'm literally here to serve. I know that my service will render blessings for me if I serve others, but everybody doesn't,
they don't have that mentality. Yeah.
So it's mindset. What is the mindset of the person that's asking for the honorarium? Because now, and then here's the other thing to that too, Pastor, and I know you know this.
All right.
You say to some churches, let's love on our pastor and give a love offering. People will put a quarter in the bag. Like, you wouldn't want a quarter.
Well, give nothing in it.
Right.
What?
Ball up $1 bill and throw it. Like, you would. Somebody said let's black, like, people who, because I think putting your Cash App on social media for your birthday is tacky.
Right.
My personal opinion. But people who do that, you do that with the expectation that people will bless you on your.
Yeah.
So if I say, okay, let's collect the love offering for the pastor, people just they do anything. So I get the honorarium, but I agree with you in the sense that you shouldn't say, well, I'm not going to do it if you don't meet.
Pay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've seen pastors and their writers where they, we only want the pink starburst, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I gotta have a half pound of shrimp and.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and don't forget the honorarium is $3,500, and then they have it in their contract that they want to be able to come back and raise a seed offering, and they want 45% of the seed offering.
Yeah, I get it, man. So I don't think.
What?
So my personal opinion is, I don't think. I think that's the beginning of the fall of the church. If church becomes for pay, meaning no one does anything in the house of God unless they're getting paid. I'm not going to clean the church unless you're paying me. I'm not
Help
picking
us, Lord.
trash unless you pay me. I'm not going to usher unless you pay me. Like the church is not designed, because it's not Walmart, right? You know what I mean? So it's not. It can't sustain on a for-pay model. It cannot. So so people. So I get it when people said years ago that church is a business. But I think now we're living to we put our foot in our mouths, because it's not a business and it shouldn't be run as such. I believe living sacrificially is God's way based on Scripture, and I believe the blessings, and I believe that once you start receiving the paycheck for it, to the degree, meaning I'm not saying that people shouldn't be blessed, but I'm saying that once you start checking, and your idea is, I'm not doing it unless you pay me. Right. It takes the blessing out of it.
And it also takes the ministry passion away from what it is that you were originally doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because God says that if you want man's reward, then that is your reward.
Right.
So God's saying, if that paycheck is what you're really after, that is your reward. Or you can let me do it and watch me blow your mind. And I think people are robbing themselves of that opportunity. Because of that. So that being said, I'll go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying, I like to believe that the most consistent people in my own experience are those that you don't pay.
Correct.
Very true.
Typically, people that you pay, the attitude is such that if I don't, because I don't know if it's because it's like work to them, which I think that is also the issue. Yeah, I'm here to be connected with God. It's not sacrifice. This is my job. This is the only reason that I come here. Because if my job doesn't pay me, I'm not going there. There's no going there. But and so I think people have also started looking at those who have jobs in the church. It's like, well, this is my job. So if you're, why am I here?
Yeah. So, I think it takes something away from it. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I don't think it's not business's main goal are to make money.
Right.
So in that instance, the church is not a business.
Absolutely.
Our main goal is to get souls.
Yeah.
That's our monetary thing. Jesus did say, I am about my Father's business.
Right.
So if I guess that's the only kind of business that we need to be about. That kind of business. That's just my little 2 cents.
Yeah, I dig it.
It's a different kind of business on what we're pursuing.
Right.
We're pursuing something. Right. We want to bring something in, but it's not all money.
Yeah. It's about God's will being done in the earth, and So I think the payment, for pay only, I think that literally is robbing us of that. The Bible says it's more blessed to give.
Yeah.
So I think we're missing those very important principles. I remember I was at a church service years ago, and but when I came up, playing instruments and stuff like that, like if we, and Jesse can testify, that we went to another church or something like that, and if they didn't have an organist,
you helped them out.
You just got up there and played, like you just got on the organ or the drums or whatever you did, you played. And I remember being in the church service, and it was starting service, and a guy who plays drums was standing next to me at the back of the church, and So the pastor was like saying, like, come play the drums until our drummer arrives. He was like, he did like that to the pastor, as to say, I only play if you pay me. And the pastor like, for real? like, you know, like, you can't sit up here for 10 minutes and just play a couple of devotional songs. And he was like, and I think that mentality, if we're not careful, I mean, it's contagious. It's very contagious, and people are going to miss a great opportunity to see what God is able to do in their lives, you know, based on service. So with that being said, did you guys hear about Bank of America releasing the ATM information for all the ATMs in Virginia, Maryland, and DC around the same time that there was they stormed the Capitol? And Bank of America did that because they're trying to track people who were at the uprising and who, you know, they're trying to pick pictures. And so Bank of America, without permission, gave the information to the FBI, you know, and all the other federal agencies that are still they're still investigating the storming of the Capitol. So I'm saying it to say, to ask the question: do you guys do you believe, or that how it happens matters?
Absolutely. You know? Absolutely. How it happens matters, because here's the thing. And I had this conversation with someone before. When you end, right? Everybody celebrates, claps. Oh my God, wonderful, great, great, great. But if you stepped on people, you cut people, you lied to people, you cheated, and all of that to get to the end, would we still celebrate you at the end?
That's tough, Chris.
Absolutely matters. It absolutely matters, because if it's done without a moral barometer or any kind of integrity, I ain't got no clap for you at the end. That's great.
I agree.
Really? That is wow. I'm only saying it because, you know, like for example, if you're looking at a person through a recent lens, but you're looking at past behaviors, like that, you know, like if we probably analyzed Dr. Martin Luther King's sermons from back in the 60s, you know, and his position on certain topics that are now, it's a total pivot socially on these same topics, they probably would take his name off of all the street signs, and, you know, because I mean, because the social thought at that period was much different than it is now, you know. So you guys believe that how a person gets to wherever they are matters.
Does anybody else want to go?
Yeah, it definitely matters. It definitely matters, because at the end, because you're gonna have to tell somebody your story one day.
Jeez.
I got all this, I got us. But yeah, I probably did cheat him and steal from her and all. So your story got to come out. So is it going to be worth it?
So you guys are demanding perfection.
No.
Well, no, I would say the demand would be I would say the demand would be integrity. You know, you know, it's important that in between stage, you know what Christine referenced to, you know, it's not necessarily how you start or how you finish, but what's important is what happens in that middle stage. And if in that middle stage you gotta stab somebody in the back to get there, if you gotta stomp on them, if you gotta talk about somebody, if you gotta expose somebody just to get ahead, then you're not integral. You know, everything that you should be doing leading up to getting to that endpoint should be integral.
Yeah.
And let me know, so if I gotta know if I can trust you or not too.
Right.
You might try to use me to move to where you got to go, and I'm a deacon now. I can't catch no charges. So,
but you know, God uses who He wants to use. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
And so That's none of our
most people was a
business,
murderer.
honestly.
Yeah.
Because Jesse's right. You should be integral. But most of the people that we are not going to name weren't always integral, but they are where they are. They got what they got. And that's, God used them for that. That was their thing. And so even in the Bible, there are people who were lies and thieves, and God used them still. He was like, yeah, you right here. I know you're doing a lot right now and you're wrong, but I'm going to use you. I have something for you. I got a plan for you.
Yeah, I mean, and everyone's human.
Talk, Mo.
Everyone's human, but I would want to believe that when you get to that endpoint, whatever that desired endpoint is, that you will feel better about how you got where you were, and knowing that you were integral about what it is that you did, and that you didn't do anything that would necessarily expose or harm anyone else in any way. Because if in retrospect, if you're reflecting back on everything that you did that got you to that point, and you know that you did some fraudulent, unethical actions, can you really feel good about where you are and how you got there?
Yeah, if there's no change, within yourself.
When they asked, you guys remember when Edward Snowden released the fact that the NSA was, had access to all our cell phones and was recording our conversations, recording our pictures, and all that good stuff. And when they asked Mark Cuban, who's the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, and he also owns AMC movie theaters, he's a multi-billionaire. And well, I'm sure he's lost a lot of money by now with the movies being closed. But anyway, when they asked him, they said, well, how do you feel about what Snowden released to us? Through what's it called, WikiLeaks. And he said, I don't mind giving up some of my freedoms so that everybody can be safe. So Bank of America violated our rights. However, they did it for the right reason. So y'all see, so you guys are saying that doing the wrong thing for the right reason is not justifiable. Because
my question is, was it constitutional? Did they violate a law?
Yes.
I don't think so, because I'm reading on Bank of America policies.
Right.
You have the right to opt out of anything.
But they didn't ask us. So
I think partially that's the issue.
I'm not saying it was right. That's one of them fine print things. It's one of them fine print things. I'm not saying it's right, but I don't know.
Well, I was gonna say, I think partially that's the issue. They did it without asking. They never ever communicated anything. Everything just kind of came out. They were very strategic in what I'm, kind of gathering and reading about this particular situation, because they were strategic about the areas in which they were pulling the data from. They were pulling flight details and information for flights that flew into certain areas. So it kind of begs or makes me wonder, the true intent behind what it is that they did, and whether or not it is justifiable. I mean, in my opinion, I don't think so, because, they never said anything.
See, I don't mind giving up certain freedoms
me too.
in order to protect everybody. I don't think they care, if me and Yo are sending provocative pictures back and forth to each other. I don't think they care about that. I think they care about if we're planning to blow up a school, right? Or something like that. So I don't mind giving up certain freedoms so that they can do the jobs and be more proactive about, being proactive and not responsive. So I don't want them running to the school after they've shot the school up or did whatever. I want them to get intel ahead of time and stop them from doing it.
My like you say, I'm not too worried about that, because I know I'm not doing nothing real bad to be called an insurgent. My thing, what are they looking for? Like,
But
what are they not telling us? That's the thing. Because they didn't research all this stuff. They're looking for something in particular. Something big is supposed to happen. And we don't know about it.
what concerns me about the whole Bank of America giving out people's information is that if you wanted to know who stormed the Capitol, you could have arrested them that day.
Exactly.
That happened.
Exactly.
Now, on the back end, after everybody's gone home,
you trying to piece a puzzle together.
You have to puzzle, and part of the puzzle is releasing people's confidential information, which I don't believe that they only released people's information that was involved in the storming of the Capitol. Lots of people's information was released, and it wasn't just so. Yeah. If you really wanted it, what is it? That was very reactionary. Mm-hmm. If you to figure out who used their bank card to storm the Capitol, they were there.
They're looking at ATM withdrawals, flights, restaurants. I mean, just about everything.
And that's what I'm saying. They was looking for something else. Like to figure that information out. That's an easier way to do that. Go to Bank of America to do that.
It was the easiest way was to
talk. They're looking for something else. That's what I'm saying. I watch too much TV.
Yeah. They were too busy welcoming the people in to the Capitol.
Exactly.
Come on in.
I feel like really.
So, but even with that, like I said, I don't mind giving up certain freedoms in order to keep, the majority safe.
But that's the key. That's the key. You giving it up. You providing the authorization for them to have your information. In this particular case, they didn't afford anyone that was impacted by this breach that opportunity.
But a criminal not going to be like, hey, you can have my information. So how they going to find it?
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Like, the point is, right?
I'm just saying.
Earl, in this situation, we weren't talking about criminals. These people who stormed the Capitol, they were people that you and I deal with every day. They were.
I feel you.
There was a member of the FBI at this storming of the Capitol. So for this situation specifically, that's bull. All of it is.
I'm telling you, I think the whole thing is a lie. I'm thinking they were not looking for them Capitol people. They used that to say they were looking for them Capitol people, but there's something else that was going on. Something that they're trying to find. And 9 times it has something to do with money.
It's very possible, but I believe they were trying to track down the cat because I believe that moment was such a big moment, and they don't want it to be repeated. And I believe they really want to punish people, if for no other reason than to make an example out of them, to say, never do this again, right? I don't care who you are, like, do not ever. If you do something like that again, we're gonna punish you. So I think.
Do you really believe that?
Yeah, I don't believe that either because they were so prepared for the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah, well, I think, and to be honest, because, law enforcement is 100% reactionary for the most part. So, I think when you see a Black Lives Matter protest, like those are the people who are rioting. It's the ones that come in at night. Right. So normally by the time BLM is done protesting, they home, and then that new group comes at night, and they normally are the ones who are turning up and, going into CVS. So I think the average, I don't think any of us felt like, when something happens in the Black community, we kind of feel like we know what's going to happen next. Like we're going to march, and then the peaceful ones are going to go home, and then that night is when the turn up happens. So, but when we see like, white people protesting, whatever, normally
they don't know how to do it that much.
Yeah, because they riot, but not like how we do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's coming. Like, if somebody gets shot, a riot is coming. Like we're going to protest in the day, and then at nighttime. So I think they felt like they're going to be standing outside singing hymns and, I don't think anybody thought that would happen. And
I beg to differ. I beg to differ because they were very clear in their intentions. They were very vocal in their intentions. There were several groups that were communicating what their plans were, what their intentions were, and I still feel that they did absolutely nothing to prepare for what happened.
Yeah.
And I think they had enough time. They had enough time.
Enough time, and even down to the people who have arrested. You have one man who has been moved to another facility so that he can receive organic food. You have another woman who was let out to Mexico.
Excuse me.
So you have another man who was let out of bail in DC so that he can go back. So if we're talking examples of people, organic trips to Mexico and going home don't sound like examples to me.
Exactly. Clear double standard.
Yeah.
Those don't sound like. I don't think that. I think what I believe is, and while I don't want to make it about race, the reality is it is being handled differently because people look different.
It's the caucasity. Are you kidding me?
Or
I'm sorry.
Summer. Over summer.
So how differently, meaning different as in what? Like as far as like, what do you mean different?
Different as in
it's food, right?
I have to get to the Capitol steps.
Right.
Yeah, not at all.
That never happened. And then for the news, because remember, we're watching them bust the door. We are looking at CNN as it's actively happening. So not did they approach the steps and get in the building and sit at the desks and take tours and take pictures. Listen, when people were protesting over the summer in DC, all of that was blocked off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All of it was blocked off. So why is it 2 weeks before we are getting ready to swear in the new president, that everything is open, people can just freely walk about, I felt like there was no security presence. So in the summer when Black people were protesting, because think about what you said. You said when someone is shot, they know that people are going to protest during the day, and then there will be the rioters at night. So that's what they're prepared for. However, someone is shot, a life is lost, someone has been wrongfully convicted.
Yeah.
What were these people upset about? Because Trump lost?
Yeah.
And to further
That's how
kind of
works. Somebody has to lose.
Right.
And to further kind of clarify the difference in how reactive the police is. Okay, granted, they probably maybe never expected that they would have responded that way. I don't agree with that. I do believe that they knew exactly what was going to happen. But there was no tear gas. There was nothing done once they realized that how violent the protesters were. They still never did anything that was remotely done in Black Lives Matter.
Right.
And this was our nation's capital. I was in the military. That's terrorism, yo.
Correct.
Period.
So
no way looking right. No way looking about it.
So I can't correct any recent uprisings where people were shot and killed. So meaning that there are a lot of other uprisings. The only difference is in this one, and to be honest, the engine behind the Black Lives Matter movement are white people. You know what I mean? So if you watch the protests, there are way more white people there than African Americans in most cases. So I guess my question is if you guys feel like it was racially, like the way it was handled was different based on race. So I would assume that when Black Lives Matter protests, that there would be more, I guess, more gunshots. I guess you would assume. So what happened with them that doesn't happen or didn't happen at the Capitol?
To me, for the nature of what they did, it's not what they did to me. It's where they did it. You can write We ride all the time.
Yeah.
It's where they did it. They
Yeah.
got to a place that's sacred to our nation. This ain't this no family. This is not CVS. This is not a Walgreens they blew up.
Right.
These and our senators and world leaders,
Nations.
were there.
Yeah.
We're there, yo. That's a whole nother level. That right there, technically, that you don't even call police for that. You call military for that.
Yeah.
That's a different level than people going down the street knocking out windows in stores and stuff. Now those are bad things. Those are big and those are bad. But there's another level of security you're supposed to have for that. That's another level of response.
Yeah.
Something like that.
You remember the protests from the summer? Does anybody remember the protests from the summer? I mean, and I'm saying from the summer because it's the most recent that we've had. And nobody was shot and killed, you know, for that. But there were people who were run over with police cars. There were gas, there were rubber. None of those things were used at the Capitol. None of them.
There were people run over by civilians.
Yeah.
There were people run over by civilians.
Yeah, there was actual people trying to, whatever.
Run them over.
Yeah, that was.
Nobody from there and not run them down.
Yeah, I really feel like the oversight was in the area that I believe they didn't, that they came underprepared. I don't think anyone suspected that the Capitol would be stormed like that. I think they, I think they really believed that they would come, they would stand around and smoke cigarettes, and they would hold up signs and yell and all that kind of stuff and blah blah blah, and then go home. I don't think anyone, assumed that would take place. I think that caught everybody off guard. And it wasn't coordinated. It just kind of developed into that. So I think that them being underprepared, because when you're trying to police thousands of people with only a few hundred officers, it got kind of weird and it's unsafe. So if you have 3 or 4 officers standing at a gate and there are 1,000 protesters trying to get to the gate, you're gonna tell the officer to just open the gate and let them go, because it's better that way than to have 3 officers killed trying to protect the gate. You know what I'm saying? So I can see them saying, y'all just hold off until reinforcements come, and then whatever.
Did they come?
Right. They come.
They called?
No.
Yeah. No, y'all watched it, right? Yeah. The National Guard came.
But we trying to figure out, did you watch it?
They came. What time did they come? Because I don't remember.
They did.
So y'all didn't see the National Guard at all? You didn't see
saw them, but it was late.
The National Guard
late.
Yeah,
it was extremely late after
so,
everything had happened.
I know you guys are military strategists. I know that, right? I have no doubt. And I know you guys know how fast it should happen. As the National Guard, I get it. No worries. I understand.
The whole time we were watching it, that's when you make the call. When we was watching, like, oh, they're massing. I don't think nothing gonna happen, but just in case, be on standby. Cause that's what you do. Yeah. They should have been on standby. I don't know if it's gonna happen. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but be on standby just in case. Oh, that's cool. Come on, y'all.
I get it.
Same level of aggression, even if you're not expecting anything, you may not 90% of the time, and I'm not just saying Black Lives Matter, but any kind of protest.
Yeah.
Kind of, because let's be clear, this wasn't a protest, this is a riot. So I want us to stop saying that's not what. But in the same level of aggression that you use with outrage as it relates to brown people, I would have appreciated the same level of aggression, because even when the mayor of DC requested for more support, she was denied. She was not support. So, I'm not a military strategist, but who has a lot more than me, she hey, this is getting out of hand. We need some more assistance. And she was denied that request. And so
was that after or before? That was afterwards, or like, or while it was happening?
this was while it was happening.
Okay, I got
it. Denied the support. And so
yeah.
even though, and I agree with you 1000% that I don't think they thought it was going to blow over like that.
Yeah.
How the same amount of aggression you use for brown people, we didn't see that day.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, think about the young woman, I believe it might have been 2013. I could be wrong, but she drove her car into the barriers in front of the Capitol and she was shot dead.
Oh yeah. I remember that when Barack Obama became president, right?
He was killed.
Yeah,
and you know why?
That was the White House, right? That was the White House, wasn't it?
I thought it was the Capitol. She was lost.
Yeah, I know it was somewhere in DC. Yeah, you're right.
But she was lost and killed. And so, you know, we would have been, even if they had drug her out the car and beat her, it still would have been. That's a bit much.
Yeah,
but, you know, these people were allowed to completely wreak havoc. And, you know, now there are all these wanted posters saying, have you seen John?
This person. Yeah.
I saw him when he was sitting at Nancy Pelosi's desk.
With his feet on the desk.
With his feet on the desk. Why are we pretending like it's just, listen, just treat them like you treat us. And that's
period.
That's the word.
I think we lost his, no, we lost it. Christine, you the host. It clicked out by mistake. But so now
we're at our 10 o'clock hour.
Anyway, right.
So let's bid everybody adieu.
Yes.
We bid you a good night.
Meet us again next week
on Cross and Culture.
Cross and Culture.